Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of the order form. I wanted to explain the second part of it, which is the chart at the bottom. Very important, I've come to learn. So that goes along with knowing your numbers. You need to know your numbers, obviously, but also you need to know your numbers. So they have a short chart basically of the big things to touch on and to learn. Bam. So they're in chunks which aren't like really, it doesn't make sense. That's what I'm saying. So this section here is for PISA, for mitral regurgitation and the right side. So you have your ERO, your RV, and your SVI. I don't know what SVI means. So PISA is right here. Then you have your LA volume index. I'm hitting on it right now. So LA volume index, normal, mild, moderate, severe. This MW is men, women. So sometimes they'll have a slash, like up here. They'll have the men first and then the women next. But for here, it's the same for both of them. So that your LA volume index for men and women is going to be the same. Right here. Pause it, I would assume. Just look at it later on. So then here, I think is like the important part, because you have your EA ratio, your decel time, and your E to E prime. And that correlates with your LA volume index. And all of this, all those three things determine your diastolic dysfunction. So for grade 1 diastolic dysfunction, you need an E to A ratio of less than 0.8. You need a decel time of greater than 200 milliseconds, sorry, not meters. And then you also need a E to E prime of less than 9 as well. Yeah, sorry. I had to think about it because it's set up in a really weird way. So that's for grade 1. Because grade 1, mild, moderate, severe, those colors don't correlate, so it kept confusing me. Normal, mild, moderate, severe is only with up to here, but I accidentally colored the whole thing. So from here on, it's not mild, moderate, severe. So grade 2, diastolic dysfunction. Grade 1 and grade 2 are what you're going to see. Grade 2, 0.8 to 1.5 for your E to A ratio. Decel time of 160 to 200 milliseconds. And then 9 to 12 for your LA volume index. Yeah, which 9 and 9 to 12 is moderate. So grade 3, greater than 2. Less than 160, greater than 12. Grade 3 is when they're really bad. Like, they're in the hospital, probably not going to recover very well. Like, you see it with problematic valves and or like function. So normally, like, it starts off with the valve, and so if you fix the valve, then the function gets better. So I got a text. Stupid, it's spam. Anyway, you'll see them start with the valve problem, and then because the valve isn't functioning normally, then the whole overall function of the heart is decreased. So you fix the valve, you fix the problem, majority of the time. So there's other things that can happen, but usually it's the valve that's the problem. So then that's basically it for problems on the bottom second half. The top is more of like measurements, your normal measurements. So it goes from the thickness, I don't know what that is. I think it's the IVS, your thickness of your IVS for the first one. I'll show you it again. Thickness of your IVS, your LV size for men and women, your LA size for men and women, your EF. So your EF, normal is going to be greater than 55%. That's why we say 55 to 60, because that's normal. really good function is like 70, 75. So that'd be like athletes. I mean, athletes are probably, technically their function is whatever. We're not going to get into that. So you have your EF, normal, mild, moderate, severe. Severe is less than 30. I have seen and scanned patients less than 30. It's really bad. It's sad. And I'm like, how are you still living again? Anyway. Then your aortic root, your ascending aorta, your AVA, and your MVA, which I don't have a lot of experience in, but that would probably be for valve problems because it's the mitral valve area and the aortic valve area. And then your PASP, which is for your tricuspid regurgitation, which is what I was talking about earlier about your RVSP, except it's your PASP. So that would just go for like hypertension, pulmonic hypertension, I don't know, systemic, whatever, something like that. So that's the chart. It's a little bit shorter, but it just gives you a bam, you know, kind of overview of the numbers. And then let me go get what I wrote real quick and I'll be right back. Trampling along. Okay. So this chart is so confusing to me. Like, I know I'm not going to learn anything from it the way it's organized because it's so disorganized. So when I didn't have anything to do at clinical, I started writing them down. And so I need to be organized in a very weird way for me to learn correctly. So I started off with what I do. Like when I scan, I start off with my measurements, my septal measurements, posterior wall, LV, LA. So that's basically what I wrote for all of this. Sorry, it's a little bit bent. There's that. It's a little bit confusing with like systolic, diastolic, volume, and diameter. Then I just looked at the chart and kind of copied it, but just did a different format for this other half. Then I did like my LVOT, LA, RVID, IVSD, all of those measurements, and then LA size, LV size, just kind of like the normal things that you would see. And then on the back, it's like the apical four chamber stuff, which this is just from the chart. I just wrote it out differently. And then like PISA, MR, stuff like that. And then this is a little bit different. I'm just gonna show you these, but I'm not gonna go over them. Going back to the part of like we didn't get a lot of time to like study in detail and like really ingrain it in our brains of the pathology and what we would do for the pathology. I've seen a lot, well not a lot, I've seen pathology, and so I feel like an idiot because I'm like, what do I do for this again? Because we didn't really stop and learn what we do for pathology. So I felt like an idiot a lot of the time because they're like, hey, what's this? I'm like, I don't know like how to do something, not exactly the anatomy. So I wrote pathology, like what you do for pathology. So I'm not going to go in detail about this because this is something you can find online, but I just wrote it out for my personal reference. I wrote out the 4 valves and majority of the things that you'll see, like regurgitation or stenosis. But for the mitral valve, you also have prolapse, MV repair, and MV replace. So little short, quick thing. Your mitral valve, your aortic valve are the 2 valves that'll most likely get problems if you do have problems along the way. Probably your aortic valve first and then your mitral valve, because your mitral valve is like more of a hardier tissue than your aortic valve. So just wrote it out: regurgitation, stenosis, prolapse, repair, what you would do, and then replace. Obviously repair is different from replace. Repair is like you're using the original tissue, human tissue, and fixing it. A replace is you're taking the whole valve out and replacing it with a synthetic one. Not synthetic, but like it's not of your own origin. Aortic valve, you have regurgitation, stenosis, repair, and replacement. So that's kind of like leading up to this also. So that's it for this one. I just wanted to go over that one really quickly because I like how they put that chart in, because as you're writing this all out, you can look at the bottom and just be like, oh yeah, you can put grade 1 diastolic dysfunction, or you could say they have a mildly dilated ascending aorta, you know? So I think it's good. It's good to study, good to be like, know your stuff. But after a while, I can see how it'll get just time consuming and just be like, ugh. But me as a student, I like it because it really just says, learn your numbers, you know? So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. And see you in the next one. Bye.